You're my best friend.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
For my friends.
77 WABC.
Madam Vice President, you say you want to be the leader of the free world, and yet you can't bring yourself to sit behind our most important and strategic ally in this moment. That is not a good look for you. It's not a good look for America, and it's not a good look for her party that she aims to lead. So I think those are very important questions. I don't have the answers to those questions. Kamala Harris needs to provide them. How can she be expected to be viewed as the leader if she can't fulfill this basic responsibility? This is her duty. It is your duty as the vice president and the acting president of the Senate to sit in that rostrum and host a foreign leader for their joint session, their address to a joint session. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the history books, but this may be an unprecedented event. The vice president to decline that responsibility. I just think it's outrageous.
Well, he right. I was with Mike Johnson. My cousin Norm Coleman held a big event for the Republican Jewish Coalition in Milwaukee last week, the same day that Trump spoke. And Mike Johnson spoke that day, the Speaker of the House. And he said, let me tell you something, folks. We're going to put this thing on Wednesday of next week. We're going to arrest people who try to stop it. And then he blamed Chuck Schumer for sitting on this for months. He said this would have happened months ago, but Chuck Schumer wouldn't give us the rubber stamp. So it is tonight, and Kamala Harris is in Indianapolis at a sorority party. I swear to God. And a boatload of House Democrats from all those anti-Semites, the squad, and there's like 7 members of the squad, folks. It's not 3. They're not going to be there. Alan Dershowitz is the greatest living attorney ever. He just is. He's a dear friend. I love him. And he's back. It's been a while. Last time we spoke, I think you were in Paris, Alan. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, except that I can't be at the event today with Prime Minister Netanyahu. He called me and invited me to sit in a place of honor, as I sat last time he spoke. Last time he spoke, I sat next to Elie Wiesel in the front row.
Wow.
with Mrs. Netanyahu and Mrs. Wiesel. But unfortunately, in Paris, when I was speaking against the Iranian regime, some very prominent person fell over on me, knocked me over. I caught him, but I tore my hamstring.
Oh my God!
And I'm not able to be mobile. So I sent my great apologies, and I can't sit next to my friend Bibi, and I'm not going to be able to be there except in spirit. Now,
by the way, the time when you were there, that would have been like 2015. Is that right, Alan?
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was a great speech. You know, Charlie Rangel originally was not going to come, and the whole Black Caucus was not going to come. And I persuaded Charlie to come, saying, look, at least listen to him and then have a press conference afterward and criticize him. He then called me, Charlie Rangel did, and said, that was one of the greatest speeches I ever heard. Thank you for encouraging me to come. It was a great speech, and he praised it. But people like Liz Warren have been behind the scenes pushing very hard to make sure that Kamala Harris doesn't come. Liz Warren on the same day said she wouldn't come to listen to the Prime Minister of Israel, but endorsed the anti-Semite and bigot Cori Bush for Congress. Liz Warren has been one of the most disgraceful senators. I wish I were 20 years younger.
Yep.
I would have gone back to Boston and run against her.
No, she has been very vocal, but you know better, Alan. Kamala Harris doesn't need Liz Warren to motivate her not to come. I mean, we're going to do this because we do this all the time. If as bad as Biden was with Israel, and I don't know how you can defend him the last couple of months, he is 1,000 times better than Harris. You cannot tell me as a proud Jew that you think Harris is a friend of Israel, a friend of the Jewish people, telling people she's going to punish Bibi for going into Rafah, even though we saved hostages, telling people she needs a 2-state solution, telling people Israel is committing genocide. Nothing to do with Liz Warren. That's Harris, who's been saying that for the better part of 8 months.
Well, no, I agree that she has been less positive about Israel. Let's see who she appoints as vice president. That will be the test. If she appoints a pro-Israel person like Shapiro, that would be one thing. If she appoints somebody who supports, the Liz Warren branch of the party, the squad branch of the party, forget about it. Then it's war. and Israel is no longer a bipartisan
so you're basically look. Yesterday I had a young lady named Lizzie Savetsky in here, Alan. She's got about 400,000 followers. She's one of these social influencers from Israel. She's a lifelong Democrat. All of her buddies are rich Upper East Side Jews. And after 9 months of working on her, like I work on you, Michael Rappaport, and others, she said in studio yesterday, and I quote, "I'm there, MAGA 2024. Something she said 10 months ago, she would never even consider saying something as crazy as that. You're not there yet? Still?
Look, I think I would have a very, very hard time voting for the current Democratic Party. I'm not there yet voting for MAGA. Let's see what happens. I wasn't thrilled with the appointment of Vance. Although Vance has been supportive of Israel, he's generally not supportive of American involvement in foreign countries like Ukraine. Look, I'm up in the air. I'm not any longer associated with the Democratic Party. I think of myself as a liberal independent. I'm going to make up my mind based on the totality of the circumstances, and I will announce it on your show in October.
Thank you.
But there's no reason to rush to make an endorsement right now. I'm pushing away from the Democratic Party. Harris's nomination pushes me even further, and if she appoints somebody as vice president, that will push me even further. The fact that she's not coming to listen to Netanyahu, remember, Liz Warren didn't listen to Netanyahu in 2015. She walked out. She'd listened to Castro. She'd listened to Pol Pot. She'd listened to the head of Iran. Yeah. She'd listened to any dictator from the hard left, but she won't listen to America's most important ally. She is a bigot. I've known her for 40 years, and I know that she's a bigot.
Yeah.
And she is now a supporter of the biggest bigot in Congress, Cori Bush, a woman who doesn't deserve to be in Congress, who is an anti-Semite to the core, and who hopefully will lose in the primary. I would hope somebody would run against Liz Warren. But, this is Massachusetts, and Massachusetts will elect the ham sandwich if the ham sandwich is radical and leftist. So, we have a real problem in this country, and it's manifested by Harris's refusal to preside over the Senate. And her excuse that she had a prior commitment is nonsense.
Of course it is.
You eliminate prior commitments when the prime minister of an allied country comes to speak, and you have a constitutional obligation to preside. This is not just a tradition. This is in the Constitution itself, that the vice president presides, particularly over joint sessions. And remember, too, that ultimately, after a lot of back and forth, the Democrats also invited Netanyahu. He was invited by Schumer. He was invited by Jeffries. He was invited by Biden. And so there's no excuse anymore. And this is disgraceful that they won't listen to him. Let them listen and have a press conference afterward being critical. Fine. But listen. And don't walk out. Don't show your contempt for Israel. Remember, Netanyahu coming as an individual. He's coming as the representative of the nation state of the Jewish people. And I think you're right. It's unprecedented for the president of the Senate not to preside over an event like this. And anybody who thinks that it's not for political purposes, of course it is. She doesn't want to alienate the hard left. She doesn't want there to be an ad that shows her presiding next to Netanyahu. It's okay to meet with him privately because, all right, that's a private meeting. Maybe there won't even be any TV cameras there. Who knows? But maybe there will be. But what I'm so upset about is her making a public declaration that she won't preside over that. You may be right. She would have done it without Liz Warren, but I want to hold Liz Warren. She was my senator, my colleague for many years. When she decided to run for the Senate, she came to me and she said, Alan, I don't know anything about the Middle East. I don't know where the West Bank is. Give me a tutorial. And so I sat with her and I gave her my book and I gave her a tutorial. And she hasn't changed anything. She's gotten worse.
Yeah.
She is closed-minded, bigoted, anti-Israel, anti-Zionist.
She's also a liar. She tried to sell herself as a Native American, which she's not. So she's a liar.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, in terms of legal terms, Kamala Harris is now the nominee. That's it. She's got thousands of delegates. Right. She's raised It's pretty eye-opening. I had Lara Trump on yesterday. $126 million already. She's the presumptive nominee. As far as I know, that is not the democratic process. When Joe Biden stepped down, you don't just anoint Kamala Harris. You go through a process. Or am I wrong here?
No, you're right, but it's the party's process, and the party has the right to change their rules. They're not the government, so they could do that. Now, there are limits. If the party issued a statement saying we will no longer consider any black person or gay person or Jewish person, obviously the courts would have something to say about that. But how they select their nominee and their delegates probably would lose in court. I think it's a good political issue. I don't think she should have been anointed. I think she should have gone through a process by which the public and the Democratic Party decides people like me could vote against her. But that was not a decision that was made. The Democrats decided to anoint her, and they have to pay the political consequences for that. Let's wait and see how she does in the debates. Let's wait and see who she nominates to be vice president. That, to me, is going to be a key issue, who she nominates to be vice president. And if she was smart, she would throw that open at the convention. She would say, look, I'm not somebody who was elected to be your nominee, so I'm not going to do the traditional thing of naming the vice president because I don't really have the authority to do that.
Right.
I'm going to leave it to the delegates. Let's see who you want to be vice president.
She ain't going to do that.
Sometimes be afraid of what you wish for.
She ain't going to do that. She's actually – what do you think about the fact that they've actually already hired Eric Holder to vet these individuals?
Yeah. Eric Holder has had his own problems in the past. Obviously, he refused to comply with subpoenas. He was the attorney general who declared himself to be loyal and kind of the right-hand man of Obama. And then the Democrats complained when Trump said he wanted an attorney general who was loyal. Look, the job of the attorney general is difficult because on the one hand, you're supposed to be a loyal member of the cabinet trying to help your guy get reelected. On the other hand, you're supposed to be the independent prosecutor. We're the only country in the Western world that merges those two roles, which is why we need special counsel. Yeah. No other country needs special counsel like that. Yeah, and, well, the special counsel, Jack Smith, that worked out well. And I do want to get to the last thing on Trump with you, but this FEC, the Trump administration saying, wait a second, not only should she not be anointed as the nominee, but all this money, all this war chest that Joe Biden has, she can't be taking that. Is there any teeth to that one? Well, that's an interesting issue because, of course, the money that we're talking about is the money of individual donors that can be used for campaign. It's not the money that goes to PACs. There's money, a lot of money goes to PACs, but that can't be used directly to campaign. It's always used indirectly for the candidates. But this is small contributions, and so it's a big deal, and there'll probably be a lawsuit. It's none of these things have precedent. So you're asking me, I know a lot about past precedents, but when there's no precedent, there's no cases on this, it could go either way. Right. And talking about cases and precedents, Alan, you wrote this book, Get Trump, and I'm going to give you an immense amount of credit because before the indictments, before all the issues, you said they're out to get him, and they went after him hard. Now, we know, of course, that he lost a case in New York, but the good news is they have now postponed the sentencing, and with the immunity decision ending up going his way, it looks like, Alan, all these potential disasters, all of them for Donald Trump, may all go away, right? Well, I sure hope so, because none of them are valid. Not a single one of them is valid. And, the Democrats claim that the Republicans are going to destroy democracy. That's a claim. But the Democrats have already destroyed democracy by going after Trump unlawfully, unconstitutionally. The New York case is going to go down in history as the worst criminal prosecution in American history. The worst. No basis whatsoever in the law or in fact. They made it up. It's Stalin and Beria sitting together saying, show me the man, I will find you the crime. The worst instance of political abuse, violation of the rule of law, the violation of democratic principles. So don't lecture me about what the Republicans are going to do. If the Republicans do it, I'm going to fight it as strongly as I fight when the Democrats do it. Right. But the Democrats have no standing to object to what Trump is doing when they have done something even worse. Going after Trump in New York and the way they did is the worst abuse of the rule of law I've seen in my 60 years of practicing law.
Wow. And twice, too, by the way, Letitia James also. I want to circle back to the beginning of this conversation and then wrap it up. And you sound great. I know your hamstring hurts, but you sound as brilliant and terrific as ever. Bibi speaks today. There's a lot of folks who want Bibi to say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a ceasefire. I'm going to get the hostages home, even though he doesn't have the hostages. The bad guys have the hostages. They don't realize that. And then there's people like me who want to hear, listen, here's how it's going to go. We are going to finish this war. We want to bring the hostages home, but we're going to destroy Hamas and keep Israel safe, whether it's Judea and Samaria or Gaza or the North, for the next 1,000 years. What do you think Bibi does today?
I think he focuses mostly on Iran. Because that's been his issue. And I think that's an issue where Republicans and Democrats can agree. He's going to show how close Iran is to becoming a nuclear arsenal state that exports terrorism around the world. By
the way, to your point, the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, said just last week that Iran is not a year or two away, but a week or two away.
Yeah. No, they can make the decision at any time to do it. And Israel can make the decision at any time to go after them and seek to destroy it. Let's remember also, to be fair, that Trump denied Israel the right to have bunker-busting bombs when he was president, and the bunker-busting bombs are necessary to destroy the Iranian nuclear facility. So let's hope if Trump gets reelected, he'll reconsider that and give Israel the bunker-busting bombs, which would allow them, without the help of the United States, to go and make sure that they and the rest of the Middle East and the rest of the world is safe from a nuclear-armed Iran.
Fair.
So I think that's going to be the thesis of his speech. I was hoping he could announce perhaps maybe an agreement that had been reached to get the hostages home. But as both Biden and Blinken have said, it's only Hamas that is stopping some kind of a deal from being made. Israel has agreed to the deal. The United States has. Egypt has. Even Qatar has. Hamas hasn't, and yet the New York Times and others blame Netanyahu for not reaching the kind of deal that Netanyahu has already said he was willing to sign off on if Hamas is willing to do it, which they haven't been willing to do. So let's point the finger at the right target, Hamas, not at Israel and Netanyahu.
Alan Dershowitz, I love you dearly. You were great again today. Thank you as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
always
my friend.
Pleasure to be on.
Oh, come on. I love you. I really do. I enjoyed that speech today. Coming up at 2 o'clock, unfortunately, Alan can't be there. He's got a torn hamstring.